Today we're going to learn how to be beautiful.
TipTut.
Hello everybody and welcome to a very special episode of TipTut. Today we're going to be taking a look at doing a little bit of touching up in Photoshop. Now I had some headshots done not too recently and I'm not particularly happy with them because the way I look is not great, so I'm going to fix it. We're going to do a little bit like fixing up my skin, bringing a bit more life into the eyes and that sort of thing here. So without any further ado, let's just get started. First things first, I'm going to duplicate my layer so that any changes I do make, we can make sure we're not working destructively, basically. Okay, so first things first, I think we need to make these eyes a little bit less sunken. The eyes are the windows to the soul, as they say, so we should probably start there. I'm just going to hide that bottom layer. I'm going to go through with my lasso tool, and I'm just going to select the left eye, not being too careful. And I think if I just hit Control J, I can duplicate that layer. And if we just make it just a little bit bigger, we want to make sure people can get a good look at who we are. Holding Shift here to skew this respectively. I think that looks a little bit nicer. Whilst we're at it, let's go back to our other layer here and we'll just increase the size of this other eye. We look very silly if we had one big eye and one small eye. So we're just going to increase the size of this one too, till it roughly matches. You know, faces aren't perfectly symmetrical unless you're Tom Cruise. So we're just going to roughly match the size and positions of these two eyes like so. Obviously at the moment it looks very silly because we've just got this random patch of skin up here. So we're just going to fix that now. Let's do it one eye at a time. So we'll take this eye here and we'll get our mask layer out. And with a nice soft brush, we'll just start to soften up the edges of the skin here, just so that we don't have any of these harsh lines. Okay, that's looking a bit better. Oh, now careful, we don't want to show the wrinkles beneath. Now, of course, what we could do, if we were being very clever, is we could get rid of those wrinkles underneath by removing my other eyes. So let's do that. We just hide this layer for now. We're already working from a duplicate here, so we don't need to duplicate this one. Let's get our clone stamp tool and grab some of my forehead. If we increase that brush size just a little bit, we can start painting. And we can just erase some of my eyes here. Making sure, of course, to have a nice smooth underlayer to work with. Let's go all the way and just give ourselves a nice clean palette here. Just no face whatsoever. Oops, almost made a mistake there and brought some of my hair onto my face. That would make me look very silly indeed. So we just get rid of my nose as well. Nice, that looks pretty good. Getting rid of the beard here. I'm probably due a shave. Get rid of my mouth as well, because I've always hated my teeth. So we'll do something about those teeth as well, maybe. Let's leave the edges of the beard, just in case we need to adjust my facial structure later on. There, I think that gives us a good canvas to be working with. Much better. Let's bring back one of my eyes. That's starting to look a bit nicer now, isn't it? Let's bring in the other eye here and add a mask onto that layer. And again, with the same soft brush tool, we're just going to come through and we're just going to soften up these edges just a little bit. There we go. Now, at the moment, it's looking a little bit silly because we haven't quite finished. So I'm just going to reposition these eyes ever so slightly. And I think the first thing to do is to select my forehead and just reduce that a little bit. I've got a bit of a big forehead, so let's just fix that now. There, I think that looks a little bit better. Maybe we won't do that horizontally, maybe just vertically. How does that look? Yeah, pretty happy with that. That looks quite good. Now, obviously, at the moment, I don't have a nose, so we should probably fix that. We'll just duplicate our other previous layer here. Firstly, though, we'll just make sure we've grabbed just the nose before we duplicate that. Get a bit of the spare face in there as well, just so we've got a bit of skin to work with. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. So just select that bit. Let's duplicate that nose and just bring it back on top of my blank face here. Now, I've always thought my nose is a little bit long, so we can squish that down until we get something we're happy with. If we bring it on top of the eyes as well, we can probably blend it a little bit better. So again, we're coming back here with our soft brush. And a lot of people now, these days, are when they have their cosmetic surgeries, is they're flattening the bridges of their noses. So we'll just do that here. We'll just get rid of that little bit of a shadow so it looks a bit more like a smoother transition. And of course, we'll get rid of that horrible beard here. Oh, I almost forgot the most important step, which is honestly quite unforgivable. And that's to trim up my nose hairs. Because obviously at the moment, I've got quite horrendous nose hairs in here. So we'll just fix up this eye. Don't want that little remnant of my old face. So let's make a new layer. And we'll just sort out these nose hairs a little bit with a nice small brush. We'll just come in. And we'll just paint these in. Neaten them up a touch. Wouldn't want me looking silly. Now, obviously, at the moment, this doesn't look great because I don't have black hair. I've got brown hair. So we'll just come into Image and Adjustments with Hue Saturation and colorize this and lighten it up just a little bit and saturate it and bring it over to this nice reddish brown color. There, that looks nice. If we just reduce that opacity down a little bit as well. There, just really subtle, but I quite like it. So the last step, I think, is to fix my mouth. I've not been a massive fan of my teeth, but I do think I have quite a nice smile. So I'm just going to grab all of these smile elements here, everything here on my beard, and all the way up to my cheekbones. And we'll just cut out the nose and we'll just duplicate that as well. Let's bring that to the very top of our layer stack. And let's just hit Control T. And we'll just bring this up a little bit, I think. Just a touch. You know, we don't want to go too crazy here because obviously you could start to make it look a bit unnatural. So we'll just grab all of this. And I think also my neck is a bit short. So maybe what we'll do is we'll increase the size of my neck by decreasing the size of my jaw. So we'll just do that before the mouth because obviously that's going to affect the mouth. So just for safety, we'll just duplicate this layer. And we'll just grab everything under the chin. Something like that. We'll just hit Control T and we'll just squish that down just a little bit. And don't worry, I know what you're thinking. Suddenly all my neck's gone, but we can fix that. We just show this previous layer underneath. This previous layer underneath. We'll be able to get an idea of where my neck was in the past. And using the clone stamp tool on this layer, we'll be able to come through and just fix all that up just a little bit. So let's just grab some of these. Just come back in and add some neck back in here. Now, one nice trick I've learned is that if you draw a line with the lasso tool, you can clone stamp to your heart's content and it'll create a nice sharp line for you on the edge there. Okay, that's looking all right. So we'll just bring that back in there. If we deselect that area, look, what we can do is just really quickly neaten up this line here. Just delete that. And over here, we'll do the same thing. We'll just come in and we'll delete that extra that we don't need. Just redrawing back in the edges of our neck here. Come back with the clone stamp. Just start to fill back in this neck just a little bit. What that's done is it's given us a nice short jaw. I've always thought my jaw was too brutish. I'm not an angry man. I don't need an angry jaw. I think that's quite acceptable. You can speed up the process just a little bit by increasing the size of your brush. But of course, then got to be careful that you're not bringing in elements that you don't want in your design. For example, parts of the neck down there that include little bits of the t-shirt and things like that. So we'll just fill that in. Yeah, it's looking a bit better. A bit unnatural up near the beard here, so we'll just fix that. Again, being very careful. Okay, I think that looks quite nice. I brought a little bit of colour in accidentally, so we can probably fix that with just a quick few clicks. Oops. Just a few quick clicks there. Okay, that looks nice. Back to the mouth then. Grab our mouth layer here and our mask tool. Increase the size of our brush again and making sure it's nice and soft. We'll just come through and we'll just get rid of all these elements that we don't need. And because of what we did previously, we should be able to just bring up to the edges of the chin here. Make sure, of course, that we go underneath the nose and we can come back in and add those elements back in later. That's no problem. So we're just bringing in just the edges here. Just the edges. Now, at the moment, of course, we've got two layers here that we don't need. We just want this one layer. And if you come back in here, you'll notice some of the gaps that you missed earlier. So we'll just fill those back in, just really smoothly. Of course, making sure to try and keep it as realistic as possible. You don't want any foolishness going on. There. Okay. So we've got a little bit of a bald patch on our beard, but we can fix that. That's okay. Come back in, and this time with a smaller brush. And of course, with white instead of black, we can bring back in some of this beard here. Yeah, that looks nice. Yeah. Now, let's just see if we can bring back in some of my nice cheek lines, but without going too hard, of course, because we don't want it to overlap the edges of the image. There, it's a bit better, a bit of a softer chin there. Okay, careful, because we've got that nice hard cheek line, but we don't want to start overlapping the eyes. That'll start to look silly. So we'll just very carefully paint that in. And I think that's there. I think what we'll do is we'll just select the layer, and it's a little bit wonky. So we'll just unwonk that just a touch. And of course, that means we're going to have to adjust our mask ever so slightly. Let's have some of this hair start to creep up the sides of my eyelids, because we want a little bit more blending. Just here, just creeping up. And then we'll just soften up that eyelid there. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. The nose, I think, needs to go on top, however. So we'll just grab our nose and our whiskers here and we'll just pop those on top. Because obviously otherwise it's going to look like my nose is hiding behind my beard and we don't want that. So that's one section. And I think what we'll do now is we'll just grab everything we've done to the face and we'll just pop it in a layer. So we've got our basic one here, like so. And then using this, I think the entire head just needs to grow just a little bit. So let's be brave here. We're going to select both of our layers and duplicate them. And we're just going to merge them together. So we've now got one flat layer with all of our work on it. And using my lasso tool, I'm just going to lasso the head. And holding control, we're just going to adjust just until the skull looks like the right size. Of course, now that might tweak our neck a little bit, but that's okay. We can fix that up. And if we just go down to our clone stamp tool, and there's just a few slightly unnatural looking shadows down here. So we'll just fix those up. There we go. Nothing too drastic. Oops, brought some shirt in there. That could have looked silly. Like so. And we'll just also nab a bit of neck here, duplicate that, and we can move it over. Like that. And then if we just go to our mask tool, there you go, we've added in a bit of the neck there that we accidentally cut off. Yeah. Nice solid line. So we'll just delete that extra section. And that's looking pretty good. Okay. And I think we're done. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe the head's a little bit too wide. Should we just take everything and just... Yeah. Do you know what? I think that's perfect. How to Be Beautiful by TipTut. Happy April Fool's Day, everybody. Love you, bye.
Remember to subscribe for more tips, tricks, and tutorials. Thanks for watching.